Hey everybody, how you doing? Hopefully you're having a great weekend. Wanted to share with you a video this weekend to go through some of my favorite setups for next week. If you've watched these videos before, you may have heard me comment on how important this weekend time is for me and my process. It's just a great time for me with the markets being closed, no distractions to kind of get organized, get a focused list of 10 or so stocks. Um, Together that are setting up well. And those are the ones that I watch most closely the next weekend. And probably 90% of the trades that I make are actually based off this weekend homework I do. Some things come and go throughout the week, but most of my activity is dictated by this time on the weekend. So here's some that I wanted to share with you. Hopefully you find value. First, let's take a look at the SPY S&P 500 ETF. You can see this 280 level, just obviously important. Resistance back here, going back a year to last March. Resistance again in the summer, turned into support, moved up nicely, broke back below it, and again turned back into resistance. You can see here October, price came back, hit it again. October, price comes back to that same level, trades down. So now we went all the way down here, going into December, had that very strong rally. Price hit this really obvious level, and it did the obvious thing, turned back down. So no telling if we're going to continue to drift down. If we do, look for maybe some potential support here, 260 to 265 that acted as support back here in October and November. If we hit that, that'll be a key area to watch. Friday, we did have a big reversal off the lows towards the end of the day. So if that strength gains some traction next week, look for it. If we break above, 281 or so in the SPY, that would be a very bullish case scenario for the market. So just some things to consider. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but those are just some kind of short-term levels that I'm watching right here. So let's go through some charts that I'm watching for next week. These are all long ideas. First one is EXAS. This one has this area, just above, $82 or so. You could see it marked resistance right back here in the fall, hit it again, resistance, broke through it, came back down to retest it successfully, had a nice strong move off of it, couldn't quite gain traction, but now we're back to that level again. Prices respecting this level, around $82, $83. And if we can continue to show some strength off that level, I think it's a nice place to trade off of. Why? You know where to put your stop. You know where you're wrong. That's the first thing I look for when entering a trade, is where I'm going to be wrong. Here we have the answer. Just below $80 would be a stop, so you know your risk going in. But this is one I'm looking at next week as a potential long. Next one is Dollar Tree. This one announced earnings last week, favorable reaction, and it got it above a key area. You can see right here, it gapped down. Well, it's just over $100, acted as support here and here, gapped down below it. Closed that gap, acted as resistance in that same area. Resistance again here at the beginning of the year. Again here, had that strong move off of earnings, and we're trading just above that area. So this is what I'm watching next week. Maybe we consolidate a little bit. Maybe we continue showing strength. But now we have an area to trade off of, and I like this one as a potential long next week. Next one here is SNPS. This one's just been consolidating right here above these former highs, right around $103. You can see acted resistance there after a couple weeks of consolidation. Been consolidating here a couple weeks. So does it roll over and trade lower? Maybe. Does it break through and go higher? Maybe. If it does, that's what I would be looking for to get me in on the long side with a stop maybe under Friday's lows or so. So that's what I'm watching next week. Next one is T-Mobile. This one looks pretty constructive. It has this area here around $70 was resistance here and here. Had a nice break above it, kind of an orderly consolidation. You can see just kind of an orderly pullback right back into this $70 level. So if price starts pulling up away from that level, that's what would trigger a long trade for me with a stop, just under that yellow or so, 69.50, give or take. It depends on your, what makes you comfortable. But that's one I'm watching on the long side, TMUS. JCI, I'm also watching this one as a potential long trade. You can see this one has this area here around $35, $36 was resistance here back in November, again in December. One flirted with hanging out, getting above it, didn't quite get the close it needed. So it's just been consolidating. It's a slight dip now underneath that level. So if it starts showing some strength and powering through, 36 or so, that would be enough to potentially get me in this one as a long trade. Again, with the stop maybe under last week's lows, 34.50 or so. Next one here is BAH. This one has an area I'm watching here around 52.60. You can see here it acted resistance, got the break above it, strong gap up there, and just kind of consolidated right back into it. Friday started turning up from that area. So if this strength continues, this one looks like a nice potential long trade again with the stop just under that yellow. A lot of utility names have been hitting my scans. I sometimes do some scans for stocks trading near their 52-week highs. They could either be at them or within a couple percent, and it's amazing how many were utilities when I looked at it earlier today. So if there's that many names that are trading strongly in the same group and there's an ETF to trade it, sometimes it's better just to go with the ETF, in my opinion. Why? You take away that stock specific risk. You don't have to worry about earnings announcements or big 10% moves on news events, but you're not going to get the same volatility and potential upside as well. But you can compensate for some of that by maybe sizing a little bit larger in position and still having similar return here. But here's XLU weekly chart. This level, $57 resistance back here coming earlier in the year, and it's just breaking above it now. Here's a shorter term look. You can see breaking above that 57 level. So utilities look really strong. This is a good way to just get that exposure to the group XLU. Another one I wanted to look at is BSX. I do own this one, and the next one I go over JD, and I'm flat on this trade. I brought this breakout here, but if I didn't own it right now, I'd be looking to potentially buy it. You can see this area, $39 or so was resistance here. Almost got there a couple times in November, December. Then we finally got that break back here in February, so that's what got me in. But now we're right back to that level where I got in. Friday price respected this level, so if it keeps above this yellow box around $39 or so, the price stays above that and it starts pulling up and showing some strength, a nice opportunity to get in this with a very defined risk right there. Same with JD. I got in this one around 24.50 or so, and it had quite a pullback last week. But if I wasn't in it, or I might look to add here, actually it's around $26. You can see that was resistance back here in November, turned resistance again in February. Finally broke above it there in late February. Now we're coming back to retest that level. So if it starts retesting that level, showing some strength against it, and that's what was resistance then turns support. Nice area to trade off of, again with the stop a little bit under it. So that's another one. I do own some of this one, but I might look to re-add if it starts showing some strength. So those are just a few names I'm watching next week. Hopefully you found this helpful, and I hope you all have a great week next week. Take care. Thanks.